I'm not going to get an introduction.
Oh, I'm doing an introduction. Jeez, excuse me.
I'm just kidding.
In case you haven't met Heather, do you need us to take the brown M&Ms out of your backstage? Like,
Yes. No, just kidding. Okay. So we have some slides for you. Phil has the perfect links to post into the Slack at the perfect time for this. I do recommend that you click on all of them, take a look at what we're talking about. This will not fill, I think, the entire 50 minutes allotted to us. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some fun quizzing and questioning. We'll just get you involved for the remainder of the time until it leads up to Mr. Whitfield's fancy presentation.
and
An
just so
award
you know,
show.
a little bit of what we want to make sure we do as well. We've got a few folks who are in other tracks. We want to make sure we give them a time to finish out their material, get in here so that they can see the presentations as well. So we're reconverging the timelines, which is always, well, I mean, the sacred timeline, you know that that's complicated. So
It's a lot of fun. All right. So official updates in DFIR. And there are stickers that were out there. I saw a lot of them are already gone. Also, last chance for the posters. There's some extra Legos, I believe, out there. So if you don't even like them for yourself, if you know someone else that likes Legos, feel free to help yourself to them. The first thing, this was released this morning, and Rob brought it up during his keynote. The ultimate guide to getting started in digital forensics and incident response. One name was really left off the authorship, and that's Viv, who took this nightmare of a working document and made it into this beautiful product. If you could have seen what that looked like, it was a giant nightmare. But what we wanted to do with this, and this is a project that Viv has been wanting to do for a really long time, and I'm actually doing a webcast on September 1st, I believe, just being interviewed on women in cybersecurity, how you got started, where you want to go next, and who has helped you along the way. So that is also going to be featured there. But in this, we are covering free resources to include the webcasts, YouTube channels, blogs, podcasts, different networking methods and resources. So low cost to free, because not everything is exactly free, but low cost conferences and things that you can go to that isn't going to cost you thousands of dollars to attend some of these things. Mentorship opportunities, and this is a big one. Different methods that you can go to and leverage to find someone to help you in your career. If you want to make a change, if you want to get started, as Rob was saying this morning, don't always chase the money. If you really like it, it won't feel like a job. So people to help you along the way. Sometimes mentorship just happens naturally. Half the time, I think people mentor you and don't even realize they're doing it. That's me. I'm like, I don't even know I'm doing it.
Yeah,
It just
fair.
happens. But it's a good place to start because many people don't know where to start or they're too timid to just reach out and say, hi, I follow you and can you help me do X? But if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So keep that in mind.
yeah, and on that note, I would also say you'd be maybe surprised to realize how open and accommodating and eager to help a lot of folks in this community truly are. You've got this opportunity to reach out to people who are writing the tools that you rely on a daily basis and help to improve that. So my note that I took out of Christian's talk is, all right, I think I know somebody who can help with SoftL. I'm going to go ahead and work on that dashboard. He said that's something that he wasn't able to do. So that collaborative nature that you see, not just from a mentorship perspective, but from that kind of support, it's a great way to get involved, whether it's finding new artifacts, whether it's submitting them, and we're going to talk a little bit about those as well. Any little thing you do to just kind of put it out there, I'm not saying you have to use Twitter, but like to put something out there that says, hey, I did this cool thing. And then you go to sleep and you wake up the next morning and go like, holy crap, there's 5,000 likes and 3,000 retweets or something. That is a very real way to kind of put yourself into the community and kind of get to be in a position where you're making a name for yourself and you're contributing in a way that doesn't require the cost.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Phil. I like that.
Almost like we work well together.
There's also a brief snippet in the guide for Forensics 308, which is the Digital Forensic Essentials class, and Forensics 498, which is currently Battlefield Forensics, but is going through a name change later this year. And it's going to be DART, as I like to call it, Digital Acquisition and Rapid Triage. So make sure you take a look at those. And I'll talk more about some free little glimpses you can get of these courses. The final thing in the doc Kat Headley was interviewed on just being new to DFIR. What does it mean? How to get started? And it's a question and answer session with her. So I definitely recommend reading that. And then there's a small little closeout and hopefully something motivational from me that's in that. Also on Timely Nature, Hitchhiker's Guide to DFIR by Andrew Rathbun and kind of the Discord family, Discord contributors came together and wrote another guide on getting started and how to do things. So these are 2 free resources for you. Definitely leverage them, share them with people. If people come up and say, how do I get started doing what you're doing? Point them to things like this. That way you're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, and one thing I'll mention on that Discord server as well. A lot of times folks, whether it be here at a summit or in a class or just talking generally out there in internet land, they say, well, where do we go to continue this conversation? Because remember, the Slack that we're in right now, this is going to go away later this evening. But Andrew has done a fantastic job of putting together and moderating the Digital Forensics Discord server. That's a great place to go. Probably the foremost community building platform for digital forensics and incident response. And, we really recommend folks go to that. So yeah, Tony just dropped the link here in chat. Do join that, check it out. Even if you're just lurking, you're going to get a chance to kind of experience a lot of the community building that we were talking about.
I think there's over 10,000 members in it. And there is a SANS channel in there for DFIR. We promise we're not going to spam you. We'll let you know of new courses, free resources, live streams, things like that. So it's not a place that we're going to try to sell you something. Another thing that Andrew has done, he's kind of falling into this category of no sleep as well. He is creating the DFIR Artifact Museum, and he has been on me to contribute to this. He just sent me a hard drive this week, which I will get to. Instead of loading full forensic images, which we all know how much space that will take, and you don't have time to sit there and parse it, it's specific artifacts from Mac, from Linux, from PCs. I'm sending him iOS and Android from all the different versions. So I have stuff as old as I think like iPhone 6 or iOS 6. So all of those things, all the different Android versions, different application artifacts, it's all test data that will be posted here for you. So this is on GitHub. I strongly recommend you follow that. You never know when you're going to need something. If you have something to contribute, please reach out and he will send you a link. He and Kevin Pagano are even willing to take images from you and strip out what they need. So if you're like, I have stuff, I just don't have time to deal with it. That's what I'm doing. I'm sending all the images and they're just going to piece it out into what's relevant. So please contribute. It's definitely helpful. All right, some new things at SANS here. So 2 new GIAC certs. The first one is the Gimme. This is Sarah's cert. So the GIAC iOS and Mac Examiner, a long time she's been waiting for this cert. A long time. And it's definitely something that's needed. It will be the first vendor neutral Mac cert. I know that companies like the one I work for in my day job also have them, but that is vendor specific. So it is vendor neutral. I definitely recommend this. And then the cloud team standing back here, they have their GCFR that goes along with 509. And now something everyone is always like, great, I already took that class. Well, there's good news. You can get an alumni discount if you want to take the cert. Something that I would ask Sarah and Dave and team to think about. I have people reach out to me all the time and say, I just took this class in this version. Do you think it's safe to take the cert? And my answer is, I don't know. This is at your own risk. Obviously, the cert is going to be written for, Sarah, do you know which version yours is written for and newer? Is it H01? G something? Okay. And Dave, is yours H01? He's not listening. Do you know which version of the course the cert was based on for the initial? Was it H01? H03? Okay. So obviously you could do it at your own risk. You could be insane and take it with no books. And that's a terrible thing to do. I did that with my own cert and it didn't go well. It's a scary thing.
Yeah, and something that I mentioned to all my students as well, that you may not realize is even though SANS and GIAC, really appear to be connected at the hip, and in some ways that's a fair assessment, they're actually separate organizations. So we as instructors, as authors, for the most part, we don't have insight into what goes into those exams or anything. So when you ask us, hey, should we take it? a lot of times we'll kind of clam up and be
Mhm.
like, well, we don't know because we don't know what exactly is on those exams. We're not allowed to in most cases. So that's why we always say like these kinds of arrangements that are put out there are really designed to make sure that you get the right, latest, greatest material that's paired back up and kind of have that most close alignment with the material to the exam. But also to recognize that we really value the early phase input that we get from our alpha and our beta students and the very early ones. So we want to make sure that that's not something that's inaccessible to you because we realize that's not fair. So we work very closely with the sales teams to make sure that there's a fair pathway to get you the latest, which is going to help you to maximize your chances on the certification attempts.
And if you ever want to repeat a SANS course, you get that alumni discount to retake that exact course, even if it's not for the cert, but you have to reach out to SANS to register and they will help you do it. You can't click a button or get a magic code for online. So make sure you are contacting SANS. And since you're speaking about alpha and beta, new stuff that is coming out. So you can see things that are already being advertised are there on the right. I'm going to talk about some of the other things in just a little brief glimpse here. So Forensics 528, Ryan Chapman wrote this course. It is our ransomware for incident response. The alpha just completed, and there is a beta happening September 19th. Now you're hearing this new term alpha, and this is new to us as well. This is something that we just implemented. If you deem yourself an expert in a trade that is going into a class. So let's say you are an expert, for example, in memory forensics. And you're like, I could do that. You could sit a SANS course for free. It's an alpha. You don't get printed books. You have to understand it is alpha. You are testing things. Things could be broken. They shouldn't be, but you're expected to give thorough feedback because you are good at that skill. If you think you can do this, there are two ways to go about it. You can reach out to me, and then I'm also going to point you to the course authors and say, hey, do you know this person? Are you okay with this? Do you want them to sit your alpha? Or two, go straight to the course author and say, hey, I would like to be in your alpha. I'm interested. This is a skill I have. So as you see these courses coming up that are in development, if that is something you think you could do, fantastic. And we kind of have a general idea, Henry, I'm looking at you now, a general idea of when alpha will occur, but obviously that slides based upon course turn-in. So right now, the alpha is going to be the end of August for the new enterprise memory forensics class that Matt Fuchs is writing. You can check that out. 589, this is coming in 2023. So we have Sean O'Connor as the primary author, and he just recruited a few more to assist with this. And it's going to be cybercrime intelligence, blockchain, some dark web, all those kinds of things. So that obviously will have an alpha as well. If that's kind of you, let me know. I can introduce you with Sean and others. Another one that's coming in 2023. Where's Taz? Yep. What's the date on this, sir? What do you think? No pressure. Okay. Linux forensics. Taz will obviously probably, I don't know, I think you could have a hard time finding the proper crowd for this. So if you know Linux, and when I say expert, if you're passionate about it, if you care about it, you do it in the workplace, take the alpha. You don't have to be that you are the master, you have zero imposter syndrome. If you care about it and it's your passion, ask. Because again, it's free SANS training, and the answer is no if you don't ask. We don't know that you exist.
Yeah, and the big thing about this whole new alpha process, we invested a lot of time and effort into this. We really wanted to make sure that we get a representative sample of inputs from across the community. So I won't bore you with all the like gory technical details behind it and the parameters, but we're not going to do an alpha for XYZ company where we put all 20 people from one company, because that's not going to give us a sample that represents all of your perspectives and workloads, right? So we've really built this around a desire to make sure that when we get this into the classroom for the first live runs, that this is something that is going to hit the mark for the widest number of potential students. So there's a trade-off there. Like, you know, we're very obviously making a big deal out of the fact that it is a no-cost training opportunity, but you know, I put this in big air quotes here, your payment to us is detailed feedback on down to the like this lab, this question just doesn't make sense to me because. So you're certainly familiar with all the evaluations that we have in our courses. That's like a scratching the surface of the type of feedback that we bring in from these alphas. So that's kind of the trade-off that we have there. And certainly we appreciate having that experience from all of your casework and your workload so that we can make sure that that material is the best it possibly can be and really put that final level of polish on it.
All right, the next one, 548, Mr. Whitfield's class, e-discovery. We put out surveys, and I know that Viv posted it in the channel, and Phil's going to post it again. It's going to ask you key questions. So for example, we did one for 577, and we wanted to know, how long do you think this Linux forensics class should be? We learned very quickly that DFIR does not like 2-day courses at all. It's not good. Most people want 5 or 6 days, but we ask specific things too. So the survey is for Lee to give information back to Lee. If you have things you want to share with Taz and Lee, like, hey, this will be awesome. This is what's lacking from other courses. They're sitting right back there in the back of the room and willing to take your information. Also, I have a random question. This is not in the poll. What happens is people will write proposals and send them to me saying, hey, I want to write a course for SANS. And I say, okay, quickly, what is it going to be about? Why should we do this? How long? And then they go through this formal proposal process. Insider threat. Do you think SANS needs an insider threat course? I'm really torn on this. Raise your hand if you would attend an insider threat course. Oh, okay. That's what I was assuming. Okay, just curious.
But it's so much better to find that out now.
Yes, yes, it is. So please take the survey. It's quick. I think it's like 5 questions or less. Pretty painless, hopefully, but it's going to give Lee some good information. And Lee, assuming the survey comes back with what you expect, are you thinking 2023? He's not listening now. 2023? Yes, no, maybe? Depends.
Sure, ends up being my fault. I see how it is.
Henry, if
It's-
you
it's
do an
the-
alpha,
I will indirectly not answer that. How's that for a double, almost negative? Henry can answer it more specifically. It gets a little bit complicated in that. Realize that the alpha being a, alpha is not a full public class run, so there's a little bit different. I'll defer that to Henry because I'll be completely honest with everybody in here. The alpha process is brand new. And although we've got a pretty good package put together right now for what that process looks like, it's still being refined. And some of those questions are a little bit nuanced. I don't want to we're being recorded. I don't want this to, an accidental, well-intentioned statement to become policy, because then Henry's going to be mad at me.
but if you take the beta, you get the alumni discount, correct, Henry, or no? Okay.
Ask
Right,
Henry.
right there to the man backed by Taz. All right, for the rest of you there, like, I will never do an alpha. I have not attended any training because it's expensive and out of my budget. What can you do to get into the classroom? So obviously the alumni discount I just mentioned, that would not matter to you if you have not taken SANS training before. We have a work study program. And what you do, you hand out the evals, you help the instructor with anything that goes wrong. Say Zoom crashes, their clicker runs out of batteries. It can be honestly anything, but your main role is to make sure everyone that's physically in that classroom has a badge on and that you hand out evals. So you put a link in Slack, and for that you get a steep discount as a work study. And once you get into work study, I feel like people tend to stay in that role. And then eventually you can promote to the TA for some classes if you're doing really well at it and instructors like you. And that TA role becomes a paid job then for SANS. And typically that then feeds into, do you want to start instructor development? So there's a lot of pathways with the work study, and the link is there for you. If you do sign up for a work study and you're worried about it, I'm happy to help you. If you reach out to me and say, hey, I would like to take 508, be the work study with Chad Tilbury. I will put you in touch with Chad and with Kapil and say, hey, can we work this so we can get this person involved in the classroom? And then the final way, if you are local or state law enforcement, we have a law enforcement appreciation program, and you can get 50% off the SANS courses. So just something to consider. And sadly, that is North America only. Please do not freak out for me saying that to you. I apologize. It just is. But you could do the work study if you're not in North America. All right, some other resources. The SANS Toolbox. This is new. And what we're doing here is demos on how to use tools. So you'll have instructors that will walk you through the SIFT workstation. I think Carlos is going to be doing Velociraptor, even commercial tools. So I'm considering asking Magnet and Celebrate if they want me to, as they worded it, give an appetizer on how to use these tools. So then it feeds into the commercial vendor training. So we're trying different things here, but it's one of those things, say you're taking a class and you're like, Phil, I don't know how to use SoftElk to do XYZ. He'll say, go to the toolbox. There's a video on it and it's 10 minutes long and you can watch it tonight and then you'll be better at your labs tomorrow. So all of these things will go into that SANS toolbox. If you have something that you would like to see there when you want to do the presentation, if you reach out to me, I can put you in touch with the people who are creating the toolbox. We're happy to have you. There's live streams. Viv schedules all kinds of live streams, and these are free, and it's a fantastic way to identify a few things. One, do you like the person that's presenting to you? Because I think getting the best SANS experience is finding a class where you have an instructor that speaks your language or can talk to you, if that makes sense. There are so many different tones and styles of instructors. If you have someone that you cannot handle the sound of their voice, or you don't like how much they move around, or that they talk with their hands, you don't want to sit there with them for 6 days. So it's a good way for you to see different presentation styles, but also learn new techniques and capabilities and just anything we're researching that's new for free. So these live streams are all free.
And a lot of these live streams, we have archived on our page. We also have a number of these that make its way out to the SANS DFIR YouTube channel, which we put on, that's where Kevin Ripa's 3-minute max goes. These talks, as I'd mentioned, make their way out there eventually. We try to put a lot of that content there for you to consume at your own pace. You're hilarious at 2x, by the way, just listening to you at 2x, but suffice to say, you get to do that on your own if you'd like.
Good Lord. And then there's white papers, blogs, deeper tools. I'm going to talk you through the course preview here in a second. I'm going to use 509 as an example. But as far as blogs, white papers, there's also something called the SANS reading room. And I have been pushing this a lot since I became curriculum lead. If you research something and it adds value to a specific course. So say you research something smartphone related and it's relevant. For example, Shafiq Punja and Ian Whiffen did determining deleted data in SQLite databases. They gave it to me. I gave it to Viv. It goes to the SANS reading room and they earn a class coin. Now it's up to the author if they want to award you a class coin for that research that will then be helpful and beneficial to their course. Lenny Zeltzer is really good at people that want to do any kind of reverse engineering papers. He loves approving it and giving a class coin. So it's just something else you can do to kind of give back and earn something as a token of gratitude from SANS. Course previews. So what we do in DFIR, and Viv works with all of us authors, when we record and we put our course together, we choose a snippet of the course that we want to provide to you for free. So this is a good way. You can go out to every single DFIR course and you go out and you find one. So I chose cloud here. And what you do is you click on course demo. Now these could be anywhere from like 25 minutes to an hour long, I believe. Do you know what the longest one is? An hour. Yeah. So you could get a lot of good snippets. If you're new to DFIR and you don't know what interests you, this is a good stopping point for you. Like go there and take a look at some of these things. So here we click on course demo. You sign into your SANS and Dave appears here momentarily. So you'll see he chose some Microsoft Azure section. And if you look at the little box down below, it's going to tell you all the sections that are going to be covered. It looks exactly like an on-demand experience. And that's what you're seeing. And then Dave starts talking, your slides are there. It's essentially the same experience. I think in mine, I did a lab review. I don't think I did the whole lab, but you may see snippets of that too, where someone is going to teach you a concept, show you what a lab could look like, and then you get an idea or a little bit of a feel for that course.
Yeah, and keep in mind that it's the primary course author who makes the determination on what goes into these previews. We work, as Heather said, closely with Viv, but it's the author saying, this really is the highlight that I want to be kind of that summary of the material. So that author gets to make that determination. You're really getting a best foot forward at that point. And something else I'll mention alongside the course previews, please do make sure as you're looking at either new or existing courses, spend some time going through the course summary that's on our website. I can tell you from my own personal experience, I'm sorry, Viv, because you keep asking me for updates and things, and sometimes I'm not as responsive as you would like me to be. It takes a lot of time for us to put that in there. It's not just a simple outline. Every module, every lab, everything is laid out in pretty low level detail in order to help you make a good decision on, is this the right course? And hey, if you're still having questions beyond that, not a problem. That's where we're all very accessible. You can reach out to any of us via the various social media or email, and we're happy to try to help you with that, or at least direct you to somebody that can give the most relevant feedback on that so that you can make a good decision there too.
And you'll also find justification letters if you need to explain to your manager or your workplace why you need this training and how it will make you better at your job. So those also exist there. DFIR NetWars. I think we have some of the NetWars authors lingering around in here. So DFIR NetWars, we have 3 different ways to play right now. NetWars Tournament, which is regular NetWars run at events. And then there's CoinSlayer. CoinSlayer is this week, correct, Sarah? Yeah, it's a CoinSlayer, which means you get a chance to win every single class point that SANS has. You have to answer all those questions correct. So, and it's individual, no teams, but it's a lot of fun. The CoinSlayer is super, super cool. And then there's NetWars Continuous, which is online and you can play for a period of time. NetWars 2.0 is going to be released this fall. Brand new questions, brand new data sets, things you've never seen. And it's going to include every single course at SANS. And you'll see some of them, like for 308, for example, you may not have level 4 308 questions because it's a 3-level class. And then you may find that 710 isn't going to have level 1 questions because it's 7-level class. So you may see that little difference there from what you're used to.